Good morning. It's Monday the 5th of May 2025 and today I'm in St George Park, which is a beautiful parkland in this part of Bristol. So we're a couple of miles or so east of the city centre, and it was in this part of Bristol where I first lived when I first moved to Bristol, when Mum and I first moved after we left Portishead. So we'll be exploring this area on today's walk. Yeah, so St George Park is one of Bristol's very popular Victorian parklands. Yeah, a lot of people here this morning already, so it's still popular. Yeah, it's a very nice spot. So yeah, when Mum and I were looking to leave Portishead and move into Bristol, we were both working in Bristol at the time, so I can't quite remember what we'd have done, but I think probably what we would have done is once we both finished work at the end of the day, we would have viewed a few houses in Bristol. I can remember going to see a few houses with Mum, but there was one that we ended up moving to which was not far from where I am now, and I remember Mum walking into it and thinking, yeah, I can really see myself living here, she said. So yeah, so it was around here that we moved to. I can't remember exactly how many houses we would have seen, but so yeah, I think what we'd have done, we would have gone to see the houses after work, gone to have something to eat. I always remember there was a nice restaurant in Union Street in the centre of Bristol. It was called La Grotta, and they used to do the best ever spaghetti bolognese. I don't know whether they're still there now, but it was an absolutely fantastic spaghetti bolognese. If it's still there and they've got the same family running it, they're probably still using the same recipe. So yeah, it was a really fantastic restaurant. But yeah, so we would have gone and had something to eat there and then caught the bus back to Portishead. Moving on from St George Park, I walked along Stretford Road to the next area of Bristol, a very important area for me. So I'm in Whitehall now, so this is the part of Bristol to where me and Mum bought our house in 1984. And it was a really nice part of Bristol in which to live. King's Head pub behind me, used to regularly frequent. Yeah, so let's have a look at Whitehall then, my old part of Bristol where I first lived. Wow, all houses over there now. On that side of the road where those new houses are, used to be a petrol station there, because we lived just along there, and there used to be a shop in the petrol station, so regularly used to use that. So yeah, it's probably been gone a long time now. This is Westminster Road, and this is the street where we lived. That convenience store there, when I lived on Westminster Road, used to be a gents' barber. Wow. Yeah, regularly used to use that barber, just along the end of the street from where I lived. Okay, let's go and have a wander along Westminster Road then. So Mum's house was just along here, just at the other end of Westminster Road. As I say, Mum, I think she lived in the house for 16 years because she sold it, I think, at the end of 1999, 2000. But I lived here for 8 years, so that was between 1984 and 1992. So, yeah. So when I first moved to Whitehall, within a few days, there was a knock on the front door, and it was a friend from work, and I didn't even know that he knew I was living in Whitehall. So he obviously had seen, or I think he'd seen us moving in or something. But anyway, a friend of mine from work who I didn't know that actually lived fairly locally at the time came and called on me, and we sort of started to hang around with each other when I moved to Bristol, so that was good. Here we are then, Westminster Road, Whitehall, where I spent a lot of my time. Yeah, it was a nice house. I just remember when Mum sort of first saw it before we moved in, she said, yeah, I can see this as my home, she said. So I'm now walking onto an old cycle track which follows the course of a former railway. And this railway used to run between Bristol and Bath. So I'm just going to walk along here for a section. Yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? The Bristol and Bath railway path is a 13-mile off-road, well I assume it says route, but I know that it's a 13-mile off-road route between Bristol and Bath. So yeah, a railway line used to run along here. And it was a cycleway when I was living in Whitehall. So very regularly used to bring my bike up here. Cycled to Bath, I think, once or twice. I didn't sort of do the whole length every time I did it, I just did bits of it, but I can remember cycling quite a long way along this route for quite a few times. But yeah, happy memories. Okay, so this is where I leave the cycle path now. Just turn off here. So this part of Bristol is called Greenbank, and this is Greenbank Cemetery. Just have a walk around here. Greenbank Cemetery is one of Bristol's largest cemeteries, but it's also a really nice open green space for this part of Bristol. Quite a few people here today as well, just having a walk round and lounging about. Yeah, it's lovely. That chapel building's closed. Yeah, I believe that it needs some restoration according to notes I've read. But yeah, anyway, yeah, it's a really nice, it is a nice green space despite being a cemetery. You might think, why on earth would I want to walk in a cemetery? That's a bit morbid, but you know, it is a green space too, and there's a public footpath through it, so. So once my friend from work had discovered that I'd moved to Whitehall, as I said, we did hang around with each other a bit more. He used to come round to my house quite a lot then. And I think within a few days of him coming to my house, he said to me, wondered if you'd like to come out with us on Friday to R&J's. And I thought, oh. And of course, R&J's was a nightclub in the city centre. I thought, wow, that's exciting. So, of course, I say I'd not long turned 18 anyway, and I was only recently starting to drink, to drink alcohol. So it was quite exciting. So I said, yeah, I'm up for that. So that Friday, I dressed up because apparently you had to dress up smart to go to a nightclub. And I met two of his friends, as I said, and I think there were 4 or 5 of us that went out to R&J's, or I think it stood for, well, it was Romeo and Juliet's. It was Romeo and Juliet's. And we ended up going out every Friday night. It was great. So yeah, regularly used to dress up to go to a nightclub, and yeah, those are the days. I mean, imagine dressing up to go out now. I mean, when I go out for a beer now, I just want to put my trainers and jeans on, and a casual shirt. Anyway, I'm now trying to find a way out of this cemetery now because the gate's locked there. I need to get onto the main road, so probably down here somewhere. Okay. That's all right. There's a way out up here, I can just see it. So I'm going to walk out onto the road now and walk down to Royate Hill Viaduct. Royate Hill Viaduct once carried the Midland Railway line, but today there is a nature reserve on top of it. Beyond the bridge, I went right at a footpath sign to follow a path running beside the Coombe Brook. That was a pleasant little walk beside the brook. Lovely. Okay, so it looks like the path takes me through some allotments now then. That's good. Right, I think I go, well, there's a path opposite, I go up there as well actually. And now I am rejoining the Bristol to Bath cycleway. Okay, I only walk it for a bit further and I turn off again quite soon anyway, so. And I turn off the cycle path again as I go up here. So that's it, so I won't be seeing the Bristol and Bath cycle path again today. Okay, so I'm out in the open again for a bit now, and these are the playing fields at Ridgeway. So life in Whitehall for me was very exciting. I was living in the big city, I was going out with friends to nightclubs every weekend, but also starting to do other things as well. Although I had been travelling before I lived in Bristol, I joined the YHA when I was living in Whitehall, and that would have been the following year, 1985. So yeah, in 1985, I joined the Youth Hostels Association, so that's when I started exploring a bit further afield on my own. So I started by going to youth hostels in the Forest of Dean, so that was St Breville's and Welsh Picner. But then after that, I started to go further. So my first holiday that was further away, if you like, was the Peak District. Of course, that's where I live now. So in 1986, it was early that year, I did my first what I call proper holiday on my own, because I got the train up to the Peak District, spent a week in the area staying in different youth hostels, and then got the train back to Bristol at the end of the week. And it was very exciting. Coombe Brook Valley. Welcome to Coombe Brook Valley, which is also known locally as the Gossey, adapted from its old name of Ghost Hill Gully. At the bottom of the valley runs the Coombe Brook. The source of the brook is believed to be near Cosham Hospital, but it travels underground before entering the valley from a culvert at the eastern end just below Whitfield Road. Oh, let's go and have a look at the Coombe Brook Valley then. This is a really pleasant wooded valley. I'm not sure if I've ever been here before or not. It's not ringing any bells, I must admit. Oh well, we were not far from Whitehall, and I know I did do lots of walking around Whitehall when I lived there. I mean, to be fair, certainly as time went on during my years in Whitehall, when it was a weekend, when I wasn't working, that's when I used to sort of get on the bus and go over to Granny's in Chepstow and then ride around on the buses around the Forest of Dean all day. So I did more walks over there still than I did around Bristol. But yeah, I did some. And yeah, this is very pleasant indeed. Little hidden valley, because you've got sort of like lots of housing all around, but you wouldn't think that you're in the middle of a city really. It's lovely, very pleasant indeed. Okay, I'm now emerging onto a road again. This is Speedwell. I'm over halfway through the walk now, but I think I will find somewhere to sit down and have my lunch because I'm hungry. Cheers Drive, great name for a road. Now this road is actually named after a certain Bristolian phrase, and I always remember it when I lived in Bristol. When I used to get the bus from Whitehall into the city centre for work, when people would actually, when the bus would stop and then people would get off the bus at their stop, they'd turn around to the driver and say, "Cheers Drive." Great stuff. Great name for a pub too, Whack 'em In. Okay, not far to go now then. Plummers Hill then, another of Bristol's very pleasant open green spaces. Really nice. We're very close to Whitehall here, so I'm sure I would have come here at some point. I can't remember, to be honest with you, but I'm sure I probably did. So I lived in Whitehall for 8 years. So I actually left home at the age of 26 in 1992, but I'll talk about that another time. So Mum just carried on living there until the end of 1999, 2000 I think it was. So it was 1992 actually, just before I moved out, I also started taking driving lessons, because up until that time, living in somewhere like Bristol, I was just so used to hopping on a bus and travelling anywhere. It was just easy to get public transport. I used to get the bus to and from work, but then in later years, I actually just walked into work. It wasn't that far really. So yeah, I used to walk to and from work, but anywhere else I wanted to go, it was just easy to hop on a bus somewhere. So I was just so used to doing that. I never really considered having a car until 1992. And the reason I started driving in 1992 was because I started going out with this young woman who lived in a village outside of Bristol. And I remember, to get to her house before I actually did drive, I had to get a bus from Whitehall into the Bristol city centre, and then another bus out from Bristol city centre out to where she lived. So it was like 2 hours travel before I actually got to see her, and then 2 hours back again. So yeah, that actually sort of like inspired me to get on and start driving and pass my test. So in July 1992, at the age of 26, I finally passed my driving test, and it was all to do with going out with that woman who lived in a village outside of Bristol. So there you go. But of course, once I started driving, I was driving a lot more then, so I stopped using buses really from then on. I just started to enjoy driving. Passing between more allotments, I came to Hudsvale Road, where I turned right. Before long, I found myself back in St George Park. am back in St George Park where I started today's walk. Oh, lovely. It's been really nice exploring Whitehall and the surrounding area because that's where I spent the first 8 years of my life when we first moved to Bristol. So it's brought back a lot of happy memories. Yeah, you know, most of it hasn't changed. Things have changed, of course. There's parts I can't remember. I suppose that happens. It's been a long time since I've been back to Whitehall and the surrounding area. Oh well, that was very enjoyable. I think my next walk, where did I actually live after I moved out of Whitehall? Watch this space.